So on this episode of Horror Revisited, we are going to revisit the rundown neighborhoods of Detroit, Buena Vista Street to be precise, and pay a visit to the old blind man. Let's just try not to get caught and make sure you don't breathe.
You want this new tip or not?
All right, let's hear it.
Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
Back in 2013, theaters were graced with a reboot of The Evil Dead, aptly named Evil Dead. Fede Alvarez wanted to direct this, mostly because of his admiration for the original film. While some scoffed at the idea of rebooting a horror classic, he saw an opportunity to bring a new vision to the franchise while respecting its roots. Fede wanted to create a vision that paid homage to the original, but with a more serious and intense tone, one that would emphasize pure horror and graphic effects. Sam Raimi would be a producer on the film and endorsed Alvarez with creative freedom and confidence. Evil Dead opened on April 4th, 2013 to great success. It grossed around $97 million worldwide on a $17 million budget, and received really positive reviews for its intense horror, effective use of practical effects, and Jane Levy's performance. So what was Fede's next project he wanted to tackle? Why, none other than a home invasion film. He wanted to make Don't Breathe to explore a different kind of horror, focusing on suspense and psychological tension rather than supernatural elements. The concept of a home invasion thriller, where the usual dynamic is flipped and the intruders become the hunted, intrigued him. He was interested in creating a story with an ambiguous protagonist and antagonist. Alvarez was also inspired by the idea of setting most of the film in a single location, using the confined space to build tension and suspense. Fede noted that making this was his response to criticisms he received from Evil Dead, which were that it had too much blood, cared more about shocking the audience, and that it was a remake. Don't Breathe would be the total opposite. Fede teamed with Rodo Seaguez to write and produce the film. They previously worked on Fede's short film El Cojonudo. The two of them crafted a story where the intended victims, who just happen to be a group of young burglars, find themselves at the mercy of a seemingly helpless blind man, who becomes the true threat, which just so happens to be a great inversion. Casting began on May 1st, 2015, where Daniel Zavato joined. Dylan Minnette would soon follow, as well as Jane Levy, who was previously in Evil Dead, as well as Stephen Lang, who would be cast as the blind man. Before filming commenced, the title was completely different. Two ideas stuck with Fede. The first was A Man in the Dark, while the other was simply The Blind Man. Principal photography began on June 29, 2015. Even though the film is set in Detroit, it was shot in Hungary, with some B-roll footage being captured in Detroit. Alvarez has said that he estimated the film cost around half as much as Evil Dead. He considered it to be a welcome change because it would allow for less studio interference. Filming officially wrapped in August of 2015. Don't Breathe wasn't noticed until March 12, 2016, when it premiered at South by Southwest. The film was praised for its intense suspense, innovative storytelling, and strong performances, particularly Stephen Lang's portrayal of the blind man. Critics highlighted Alvarez's direction, noting his ability to create a gripping and claustrophobic atmosphere. Audience members also responded enthusiastically to it. They appreciated its fresh take on the horror genre and the unexpected twist in the plot. The tension and suspenseful moments were particularly noted as well, with many viewers on the edge of their seats during the screening. Because of this, it would help spread great word of mouth, with Screen Gems gearing up for its theatrical release. Don't Breathe opened in theaters on August 26, 2016. It opened in first place with a gross of $26 million domestically. It had finally dethroned Suicide Squad after that film was dominating for the past 3 weeks. It would stay in first place for 2 weeks and would last in the top 10 for another 4 weeks. It would eventually end its domestic run with $89 million. Internationally, the film would gross $68 million, and overall, the film's gross was $157 million on a budget that was estimated to be just short of $10 million. Talk about a huge success.
I mean, if I deliver this steak to Raul, man, he will shit his pants.
Do you think the money's in the house?
I don't know. Let's go find out.
Currently, the film holds an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, with the critics' consensus stating, quote, "Don't Breathe smartly twists its sturdy premise to offer a satisfyingly tense, chilling addition to the home invasion genre that's all the more effective for its simplicity," end quote. Some critics absolutely enjoyed it, such as Sarah Michelle Fetters from MovieFreak.com, who said, quote, "For Alvarez and Seaguez, the film is additional proof that these two guys who know their stuff, and watching them continue to work over the coming years is likely going to prove to be a real portrayal, delectably frightening treat indeed, end quote. David Edelstein of New York Magazine and Vulture had this to say, quote, it's visually resourceful and honest in how it sets up and delivers on its shots. There isn't a single false scare, end quote. It was nominated for quite a few awards, including Best Horror Film at the Empire Awards, as well as Best Film at the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. However, at that same award show, the film would walk away with Best Supporting Actor for Stephen Lang. It also would win Best Horror Film at the Saturn Awards. Don't Breathe released on Blu-ray and DVD on November 29, 2016, just in time for the holidays and a perfect stocking stuffer for any horror fanatic. This film was packed to the brim with special features, the best being the audio commentary by Alvarez, Seaguez, and Stephen Lang. They give a great detailed track that covers filming locations, performances, visuals, inspirations, set anecdotes, and more. It's pretty stacked for a film that's runtime is less than 90 minutes. There's also some great featurettes about the characters, set construction for the house, and a good amount of deleted scenes. Strangely, this film hasn't had a re-release on 4K. Seeing as how in the next few years it will be coming up on its 10th anniversary, I think it's deserving of one.
You have to be held accountable.
The characters in this film are vital to the viewer staying engaged in the story. Each embodies complex moral ambiguities, making them more than just typical horror movie archetypes. Rocky, portrayed by Jane Levy, is a particularly standout character. Her motivations are deeply personal and relatable. She's driven by a desire to escape her troubled life and provide a better future for her sister. This depth adds layers to her character, making her not just a victim or a villain, but a flawed, sympathetic protagonist. Stephen Lang's portrayal of the blind man is another highlight, offering a nuanced depiction of a character who defies easy categorization as purely good or evil. Initially perceived as a victim due to his blindness, he quickly reveals a terrifying level of control and menace. Lang's performance balances the character's vulnerability and strength, creating an antagonist who is both frightening and pitiable. Dylan Minette's character Alex serves as the moral center of the story, offering a counterbalance to the more reckless and desperate actions of Rocky and Money, played by Daniel Zavato. Alex's internal conflict adds another layer of tension to the narrative. His reluctance to participate in the burglary, coupled with his resourcefulness and bravery when things go wrong, make him relatable and even multidimensional.
We won't get caught.
Okay, and then what? That amount brings a serious cop presence. I'll do an investigation. My dad could get in trouble.
I knew you'd bitch out, man.
The movie is divided into two parts. The first half being the home invasion. It works exceptionally well due to its buildup of suspense, character development, and the subversion of traditional horror tropes. It establishes a tense, claustrophobic atmosphere and a well-crafted setup. The film opens with these three young thieves who plan on robbing a blind man as their one last score to get out of the game. The blind man lives alone in an isolated house and seems like an easy adversary to steal from, right? The blind man has other motives, and this part of the film becomes a cat and mouse game of trying to stay alive. The tension in the first half is masterfully sustained through a series of well-executed set pieces. They are crafted with a keen sense of timing and spatial awareness, with the camera work and editing enhancing the claustrophobic atmosphere. The second half consists of a twist I don't believe anyone saw coming. The twist involves a blind man revealing his intentions to Rocky. He wants to impregnate her with a turkey baster after he accidentally shoots his previous kidnapped victim that he had already impregnated.
I promised I would set her free just as soon as she gave me a child. Now she's gone. But I'm done waiting.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
Portrayal of a home invasion gone wrong. This sudden introduction of the blind man's disturbing intentions introduces an element of shock horror that feels jarring from the more grounded film that had already been established. It also undermines the characterization of the blind man. Initially, he is portrayed as a tragic figure, a war veteran who has lost his daughter and is now isolated and vulnerable due to his blindness. The revelation of his plan to forcibly impregnate women drastically alters the viewer's perception, pushing him into the realm of a monstrous villain. It feels quite abrupt and poorly executed, as the film does not sufficiently foreshadow or explore the depths of his depravity, making the twist seem like a forced escalation rather than a natural progression of the story.
You got what you came for. Now take it. Get out of my house!
Besides that, Don't Breathe is a masterclass in building suspense and tension. The film's setting is brilliantly utilized. The confined spaces create an intense viewing experience. The use of sound is also particularly effective. The film's minimalistic dialogue and emphasis on the quiet make every creak of the floorboards or breath of the characters feel significant and dangerous. This clever use of sound design, paired with tight cinematography, draws viewers into the characters' perilous situation, making it easy to become engrossed in their plight. The performances also stand out, with Stephen Lang being the best of the bunch, delivering a chilling portrayal of the blind man. But the twist complicates the film in ways that feel very problematic.
Cindy took my child away from me. I thought it's only fair that she give me a new one.
In conclusion, it's a film that stands out in the horror genre for its innovative approach to suspense and tension. Directed by Fede Alvarez, it effectively uses a confined setting, precise sound design, and strong performances that create a gripping and immersive experience. The film excels in building suspense through its clever use of space and sound, and the characters are portrayed with a complexity that completely adds depth to the narrative. The film's ability to provide true scares is a testament to its impact, but it also highlights the challenges of balancing shock value with a fairly consistent story and moral implications. So before we wrap up this episode, we have to talk about its sequel, aptly named Don't Breathe 2. It's a follow-up to the first, in which we see what the blind man's been up to since the break-in, who lives in isolation with a young girl. Their life is disrupted when a group of criminals breaks into their home. If you're interested in us checking out the sequel, sound off in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.
He'll be released from the hospital soon and able to return to his home. No goods were reported stolen by the victim.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo remains an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.